Hey everyone, Alan here. Day 4 of the Go Live every day in August. I'm having fun sort of doing these. I hope you're enjoying them. I've been working on my book, Survive a Shooting, today, and doing some of the research. I was looking at, signs of terrorist threats and active shooters and such. So I thought today, for this short little live video, I'd talk about 8 signs of terrorism. And remember, if you're on here, please share these, please comment, like, get the videos out there so people can learn and enjoy. More you do that, more I'll be able to keep doing these. Also, if there are topics that you want me to cover, put them in the comments and I'll get to those, and hopefully I'll be able to get the topics that you want really soon. So I see a couple people joining. Hello, and good to see you guys. Appreciate that. Before I talk about the 8 signs of terrorism, there's 5 W's. We use these, the question words are always used in writing and doing different things. But remember the 5 W's when it comes to reporting something. What is happening? You need to describe what it is that's happening, who is doing it, where it is taking place, when did you observe it? Is it right now or did you observe this earlier? And why are you suspicious of the activity that you're reporting? So remember what, who, where, when, and why when you're reporting suspected terrorist activity to the authorities. I'm not advocating anybody here go take on terrorists. But what I am saying is we should all be aware. I preach that all of the time. And while we are being aware, if we recognize things, it's our duty to report those to the authorities so they can follow up and see if it's an actual threat or not. And believe it or not, many terrorist threats have been stopped before the event because of individuals paying attention and contacting authorities. So that's what I'm sort of talking about today. And I'll give you sort of 8 signs. And remember, one sign doesn't necessarily mean something, but a combination of signs often points to, a threat or something that you should at least be suspicious about. Sheehan Joe says, awareness is the key. Great stuff. Thanks, I appreciate that. And awareness, as you know, as I preach, and a lot of us that teach, preach, it is the key. Get your head out of your apps and pay attention to the world around you, and you'll be safer. Hey, Samuel, good to see you on here. Everybody, remember, as you're joining, comment, say hi, ask questions, put in topics you want me to say, talk about next time. Share this. Get it out there to people. Appreciate that. So on with the 8 signs. The first sign, surveillance. Terrorists, active shooters, different people like that will often go and check out where they're going to do the events. And that surveillance is important to them. So if you see somebody, checking out a location, trying to determine the strengths and weaknesses of that location, maybe monitoring activities, why are they doing that? An example I remember as a kid, my dad was telling me one time when he was in Vietnam, and they caught the guy pacing from the fence to the different locations inside the fence. So obviously he's mapping out the place and giving intel to the enemy so they know where to drop mortars and different explosives, whatever they want to do. There's no really good reason for somebody to be pacing off locations inside the compound that they were at. So things like that should stand out and make you wonder, why are they doing it? Normalcy is a huge problem. We need to learn to recognize this within ourselves. Very true, Dave. And one of the things we have to look at is we need to have a baseline of what is normal so we can recognize what's not normal. What might be normal at one location or within one subset of individuals will not be normal at a different location or with a different group. So we need to be able to recognize those. But remember, surveillance is our first sign of terrorism, that something could be wrong. Number 2 is inquiries. Actually asking and trying to inquire why things are. Trying to get information about a place, a person, about the operating procedures of a certain target they might have. And they could be doing this over the phone. They could be doing this through email phishing. They could be doing it in person, talking to employees or people that are familiar with a location, and trying to inquire and find out different information about something. You need to always assess, is this a legitimate question? And is this a legitimate inquiry about whatever topic or whatever information they're trying to get? And if it's not, you have to ask yourself, why are they asking this? What are they wanting this information for? And it could be a sign of somebody's up to no good. Number 3, testing the security. Seeing if they can get away with something. They might, go into a sensitive area, accidentally, just to see what kind of response would happen. The classic thing is, okay, this is a secure area. We're playing catch or something, and the ball or something goes into the secure area, and we go to retrieve it. Can we do that without getting caught, without anybody really paying attention? So little tests. Hey, Brenda, good to see you. Appreciate everybody being on here live. Appreciate the shares. Appreciate the comments. So keep those coming. More shares, more comments, more likes. The better it is. And I appreciate everyone doing those. So remember, terrorists will try to penetrate security, and maybe in an innocent way at first, just to test it, checking those barriers, checking the procedures, because that way they can find out the strengths and weaknesses of an area to help them plan their attack. Appreciate you sharing it, guys. Those are great. Shares, comments, likes, all those things are wonderful. Appreciate that. So that's number 3, testing the security. And you catch somebody doing that, you have to ask, is this really something innocent, or were they just checking? And it should make you pay a little closer attention. A 4th thing that terrorists are known to do, and it can be a sign, is different kind of fundraising. Without funding the terrorist activity, they can't do what they plan. So sometimes they get pretty creative, and they'll transfer money, and they'll have different ways of wanting to transfer money for different these. Credit card fraud can be linked to terrorists. Some of these elderly frauds, these scams that prey on the elderly. Sometimes we think it's just a scam for somebody trying to get rich. They've actually found terrorist organizations and sympathizers and stuff behind some of these frauds. And so they're ripping people off to fund the terrorist activities. Sometimes people can be asking for money for legitimate organizations, and they're not really tied to that legitimate organization. So you have to be sure whenever you're donating money that it's going where you wanted it to go. With the internet, with other sophisticated tools, some of these people that are frauding others are pretty sophisticated, and some smart people get taken. So be careful and make sure that you pay attention to some of these scams and different things going on, because you don't want to unknowingly lose money, obviously, by a fraud, but you don't want to unknowingly give money to what you think is a good cause, and it's actually funding some people that are doing harm to others. Another thing to look for with terrorists, acquiring supplies. And the kind of supplies they're acquiring are weapons, explosives, things to help make explosives, ammunition, containers to store these chemicals, ammunition things, chemicals themselves. So acquiring these kind of supplies that are used to create the bombs and different things that they're using can be a sign. And that's why they'll often purchase these in separate places and separate batches, because the people in the know somebody walks in with a laundry list of what's going to be for building an explosive, that's going to trigger things all over. So they're trying to get smarter and wiser with their purchasing. But if you see them acquiring these kind of things, that can be a sign. Okay. Number 6, suspicious and out of place behavior. And I mentioned that a little earlier when I said we need to know our baseline. We need to know the baseline behaviors of the places we're at. And then when there's something suspicious or out of place, we need to pay more attention. They say don't profile. No, we all profile. Profiling's natural, and it's part of how we've survived for however many centuries we've survived. And you can sort of tell some different suspicious behavior. Somebody acting nervous. They won't look you in the eye. They're acting funny, and they're just not quite right. And a lot of times it's like we can't describe it, but we know it when we see it. And when we see it or we feel it, because we have to trust that intuition that we have, that should make us pay closer attention. And when we're paying closer attention, then we can determine is it a threat or not and something we need to report. Hey, and I got to do a shout out to Fletch. He's an old airborne buddy from the 82nd. We served together back in the 80s. Been a long time, but he's an airborne brother, and it's good to see him on here. So got to give a shout out to Rod. Good to see you, bud. So that was number 6. Paying attention to behavior that seems out of place for the location you're in. And again, you got to know the baseline. Behavior that's out of the ordinary at the symphony and behavior that's out of the ordinary at a Hells Angels rally is going to be quite different. Okay, so you need to know the baseline to be able to tell what's out of the ordinary. Number 7, dry runs. Before executing terrorist attacks, often they will do a dry run or a practice session. They're going to work out the flaws. They're going to be still testing security, response time, looking for unanticipated problems that might arise. Just like we practice anything that's important to us, they're practicing and doing dry runs of these terrorist activities as well. And sometimes when they're noticed doing that and reported, we've been able to stop them. And law enforcement and the professionals have been able to stop them because they were noticed during these dry runs. During these, they may be monitoring security, law enforcement, those kind of things to see what's going on during that and see if they can make sure they can get away with it. They'll check response times to see how much time they have to do their act and maybe get away, or if it's a suicide terrorist, they don't care, but they still want to accomplish their mission before the response is there to stop them. And the 8th one I wanted to mention today, deploying assets and getting into position. Okay, so the actual preparation and getting into position for that terrorist act. That's the last chance we have of stopping them early. I mean, this is it. They are preparing. They're about to commit the terrorist act. But while they're doing so, there could be some signs. It could be as simple as noticing this guy with a heavy jacket because he's hiding a suicide vest underneath it and calling authorities and saying there's no reason somebody should be wearing that heavy jacket and walking funny, in this hot August day or September day at a football game or something. So catching them when they're staging and getting ready to commit their act is the last chance we have before something bad happens. So those are 8 tips and 8 identifiers of potential terrorist act. And these are put out by the government. Homeland Security and other government agencies will have this list on there. You can find them in the websites. So it hopefully gives you a little bit of things to be aware of. Because we're always talking about be aware, be aware, be aware. I said it one of the first things today. Well, aware of what? So we also have to be teaching people what to be aware of. And these are 8 things that could indicate potential terrorist threats. And so that is something to be aware of when you're being aware. And that's the main thing I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to probably write about it in my newsletter this Sunday. So if you haven't signed up for that newsletter, go to surviveanddefend.com. Sign up. You'll get a free ebook, 25 Safety and Self-Defense Tips. You'll get that immediately, and it has some great information by a bunch of different experts. So besides learning some great information, you'll learn of some great instructors and authors and experts out there that you can continue to learn from, because none of us know it all. I learn from them. I want you to learn from them too. But then you'll also get some email lessons, and you'll get the Sunday safety tips every Sunday. And I talk about all types of areas to keep you safe or defend yourself. So check that out and sign up if you haven't done so already. Please leave questions and comments. If I didn't get to them because I scrolled past today, I will respond. I always respond to everybody. If you have a topic that you'd like to know more about, put that in the comments and I'll get to that shortly. And I'll either write about it on Sunday, I'll make one of these live videos, or both. Until then, I'm going to sign off for now, and I really appreciate everybody's listening. Hope you found some value in this. Stay safe and enjoy life safely. That's what I'm all about. Take care.